Mr. Cosby, any comments, sir?
Tonight, Bill Cosby is spending his first night behind bars after emerging from the courtroom in handcuffs today, sentenced to 3 to 10 years in prison.
It began while she was still a child, a secret off it, a smile on screen. Growing up, Raven Symoné was exposed to America. However, she was living a nightmare behind the scenes. Finally, decades later, she is speaking the truth, not about herself, but about him as well. The man who was once referred to as America's father, the man who made a fortune by forcing hugs and pretending to laugh, the man who, in Raven's opinion, destroyed lives as well as innocence. Malcolm-Jamal Warner's life was among them. "You'll vanish like Malcolm," he warned me. Then Malcolm was gone. Give it some thought. A drowning. There were no witnesses, no thorough investigation, just a casket flown home with a headline that seemed too quiet and clean. But now the silence is broken by Raven's voice. Hidden threats, deleted voicemails, leaked files, and a pattern so sinister it will break your heart are all being revealed by her, for she is not only exposing abuse but also murder. Malcolm's experience was no coincidence. To everyone else who dared to confront the monster behind the mask, it was a warning, a message, and a silencing. And she's finished keeping quiet, Raven. Names are being called, receipts are being held, and the truth is being stated. A smile wrapped in murder. This scandal is not like others. Buried in Hollywood shadows, this betrayal is drenched in fear. And if Raven's claim is accurate, then the most cherished television legacy in history is based on blood. You're gonna hear something that will shatter you, so stay with us. She should not have spoken. She was to wave, smile, and disappear into the annals of Hollywood like all the other child stars. Raven, however, Symoné remained bright. She waited, she looked on, and she spoke when the moment was right. The world has continued to tremble ever since. Hollywood is reeling from Raven's gut-wrenching, no-holds-barred interview, which exposed what many people feared and what some had already whispered behind closed doors, that it wasn't just women that Bill Cosby harmed. When the men attempted to stop him, he silenced them. Malcolm-Jamal Warner was one of those individuals. Give that a moment to sink into your chest. Malcolm, the tidy, kind-hearted son from The Cosby Show, is what America remembers. Whoever never got into trouble. The person who worked hard, maintained his humility, and kept his head down. We all grew up with it. But Malcolm was evolving behind the scenes. He was becoming bold, according to Raven. In addition to pushing boundaries and demanding transparency on set, he began to raise questions and, worse, distance himself from Cosby's shadow. That was the beginning of the tension. At that point, Cosby's phony paternal affection became icy. Raven then heard the line that has followed her around ever since. His noise level is too high. He may need to be quieted. Only a teenager was she. She was unsure of its meaning. She now understands exactly what it meant, though, after everything. Co-star Malcolm was more than that. He was dangerous. Furthermore, threats are taken seriously in Hollywood. They're deleted. According to Raven, Cosby calmly and casually pulled her aside one day, much like a man placing an order for dinner. He continued, "If you ever go against me, you'll disappear just like Malcolm will." Her spirit froze at those words. She said nothing. Instead of blinking, she simply nodded. Given that the most influential man in your career just threatened to kill you, what would you do? It didn't end there, though. Cosby had eyes everywhere, according to Raven, including in her hotel, trailer, and dressing room. Things she'd said in private would be repeated back to her. They would slip blank notes beneath her door to remind her that we're watching. Malcolm then took his wife and daughter on a trip to Costa Rica, a pause, a restart, an opportunity to unwind. But he never returned. The headlines said, "What? Malcolm. Jamal Warner tragically perishes in a drowning incident. However, Raven recognized it at first sight. The statement was false. Months had passed since she last spoke to him, but she recalled the last time they had spoken, backstage in between takes. "One day, I'm going to tell everything," he said, leaning in. "I must first ensure the safety of my family, though." That moment stayed with her, and she was devastated when he passed away. She did not cry, she did not yell, she knew it wasn't simply a death, so she froze. A message was conveyed. The world, however, changed quickly. It moves too quickly. It was a hasty funeral. The investigation was concluded. The files were sealed. The autopsy results are delayed. Questions are discarded. The call then came. It was Cosby. Then he abruptly said only one thing and hung up. You can now see what happens when people speak. Press the button. At that moment, Raven snapped. At that moment, the fear became a fire. The public no longer saw her break all connections, left the field. However, she wasn't sprinting. She had been gathering because she needed evidence before she could speak. She has it, baby. Backstage recordings, voicemails, encrypted messages, old hard drives, names, dates, and threats. It was all hers. She also said something in her interview that completely rocked the internet. Not only did Cosby harm me, but he also killed Malcolm. And now everything is falling apart. The vehement argument between Cosby and Malcolm on set just months before his death was captured on camera, according to a source from NBC's archival department. Despite being marked as corrupted, lost, and unusable, the 17-second leak appeared on Reddit last week. You can see it but not hear it. Malcolm is steadfast. Malcolm walked away as Cosby, red-faced and with his teeth clenched, jabbed his finger. A former set tech claims to have overheard Cosby snarling, "You speak and then you're done." Malcolm, though, was going to speak. He kept a digital journal, Raven said, voice memos, secret contracts, and encrypted files. It's what he called his life insurance. You know what? The day following his passing, it disappeared, vanished from his MacBook, his phone, and his iCloud. However, the data logs reveal that an IP address in Los Angeles was used to access his cloud account 6 hours after his passing. Not his daughter, not his wife, not Costa Rica. You know what's 2 blocks away from that IP ping too? A shell company's property connected to one of Cosby's former lawyers. Cover up or coincidence, since whispers are now becoming screams. Malcolm, according to an anonymous whistleblower, was on the verge of making public documents that revealed Cosby's production company was unlawfully using the names and likenesses of former cast members to transfer funds without their consent. And on those contracts, who was the name? Symoné the Raven. He showed her, he told. And for that reason, she thinks he died because he had finished defending others. They would be exposed by him. And he drowned instead of receiving justice. However, Raven has lost his fear. She is prepared. She hires attorneys. She is prepared. There are witnesses for her. She also says that she will soon make public a recording that Malcolm left 5 days before he passed away. She refuses to reveal its contents. Not yet. However, she said this to close out the interview. We're about to hear the truth. Additionally, I hope they run when it does. We're about to hear the truth. That was Raven's statement. However, what would happen if the truth was already known and being buried alive? After Raven's shocking interview, Hollywood didn't simply stop talking. It became frightened. The emails disappeared. Social media profiles disappeared. Previously cast members began cleaning up their profiles. Then the legal conflagration ensued. 2 Candace's letters, one from a legacy production company connected to the Cosby Show reruns, and another from Cosby's legal team. They said it was defamatory. They said they had broken the contract. They said that she was creating fictitious memories, but she's not giving up, Raven. She's actually going all out. In a live stream, her eyes swollen from crying, she said, "I was a child. To maintain the brand's integrity, they advised me to smile and keep quiet. Now, though, I'm destroying the brand. I'm destroying him. And now that someone else has come forward, she is no longer alone." Nobody anticipated this person. Actress Tempest Bledsoe, who portrayed Vanessa Huxtable. On Instagram, she went live. 10 minutes of quiet, only her face. Then she muttered a single line. "You guys don't have the whole story." Then she cut the stream off. Was that a sign that she was next? A cry for assistance or confirmation? No one is aware. Any doubt that something sinister was concealed behind those studio walls was dispelled by what transpired next. 3 days after Malcolm's passing, an internal memo from NBC's legal department that had been leaked came to light. The subject line, "Proactive Narrative Technique, the incident involving Warner's vacation." It wasn't sorrow, it wasn't a shock. Damage control was the goal. His body had not even been flown home when they began to spin the tale. There were 3 priorities mentioned in that memo. Verify an unintentional drowning with the local government, postpone questions from the media, verify that every digital asset owned by Warner is present. Digital resources, this includes his journal, his laptop, his phone, and this is the worst part, his journal. An employee of a Costa Rican hotel has now verified that someone used a master key card belonging to a visiting media representative to check out Malcolm's room early. Although a well-known NBC crisis manager's signature appears on the visitor log, the name has been redacted. Tell me once more that this was only a tragedy, because they were cleaning up even in death. However, Raven's subsequent discovery is what is transforming this case into a virtual battleground. She never erased Malcolm's old messages, you see, and 2 weeks prior to his passing, one of them merely stated, "It wasn't my choice. If I remained silent, inform ICE." That's all. 3 words that completely upend this tale. Tell ICE, that is Ice Cube, why he did it. Since Malcolm allegedly reached out with encrypted files about dubious finances and backdoor deals connected to Cosby's empire, according to sources close to Cube, Cube had been through it before, so he trusted him. Blacklisted and silenced, but never broken. A private investigation is currently being funded by Cube. Because he also received the email, he has brought in cybersecurity analysts, former FBI agents, and even forensic experts to visit the site in Costa Rica. Malcolm's one, subject line, "Tell the truth no matter what happens to me." The email's body is blank and only contains the raw WRR attachment. Although the file is still corrupted, the metadata indicates that Malcolm's production company's MacBook Pro was used to create it, the same laptop which has since vanished. Erased evidence or coincidence? Not to mention the voicemail. A twisted, terrifying message was leaked to a podcast in secret. Although the speaker's voice is hidden, experts have examined the tone, cadence, and pauses. They think that's Cosby. What it said was as follows. "There is no danger here. It's guidance. Leave. Avoid thinking about that girl. You don't have to tell this story." Malcolm was preparing to stand with Raven, that girl, to back up her allegations and help her reveal the monster concealed behind phony giggles and paternal guidance. If so, we now understand why his silence was necessary. Because he called Raven 2 days prior to his passing. She didn't answer the phone. She hasn't released the voicemail he left, though. Not just yet. However, during her live documentary teaser, she played a brief excerpt. There was only one sentence. "I'm afraid. However, I can no longer remain silent." Next, static. Then, nothing. Malcolm's very last words to her, stuck on a phone, stuck in time. "The world is now paying attention. Hashtags are popular right now. Raven revealed Cosby's truth behind the curtain. Justice formal. Old episodes are being broken down frame by YouTubers. Reddit detectives are examining email headers, timestamps, and signatures. Deep dives, breakdowns, and reenactments are common on TikTok." However, Raven has confirmed that she is getting ready to testify in a sealed civil case pertaining to Malcolm's estate. So the real firestorm is coming from the courts. It started out as a financial dispute, but is now progressing into a wrongful death case. Why? Because Malcolm's Costa Rican autopsy revealed 3 significant irregularities to private investigators, and even a private investigator. Missing toxicology samples, inconsistent time of death entries, and a 48-minute surveillance lapse in the hotel hallway where he was last seen. And guess who used a master key to enter his hotel room 3 times that evening? Still unknown. However, the activities documented in security logs, which are being scrubbed. They should be afraid because Raven is accusing Cosby of more than just harassment. She's not just criticizing the hypocrisy of Hollywood. Step by step, file by file, voice by voice, she is constructing a murder case. Furthermore, she is no longer alone. Malcolm's mother has also spoken out. "My son didn't drown," she said in a tearful interview. "He didn't trip. He stayed upright. They took him. And the perpetrators are well aware of who they are." Because it was more than just a statement. That one sentence had greater impact than any lawsuit. It was a cry of war. The movement is also expanding. "They attempted to silence me, but Raven's new hobbies are already taking off." Years, she is offering secret footage, internal memos, leaked recordings, and private conversations, things that the networks would rather you not see. And in the middle of it all was a man who lost his life while attempting to speak, and a woman who resisted the burial of his story. The water did not drown Malcolm. He drowned in silence, in secrets, in a legacy that was poisonous behind the camera, but flawless on camera. However, Raven is no longer making sitcoms. She's filming the ugly truth. It's devastating, it's real, but it's dangerous. Keep an eye out. Death was not intended for him. He was meant to talk. Instead of revealing the truth behind the lies to the world, he was put in a body bag. This is the first time a woman who has been silent for decades has spoken up. The embodiment of serenity in the core of the Cosby family legacy is Raven Symoné, simply collapsed in front of the cameras, revealing everything. She trembled when she spoke, she had pain in her eyes, and everything we believed to be true was destroyed by her words. Malcolm was not drowned, they silenced him, and Bill Cosby was the one responsible. Take a moment to process that. The man who was once referred to as America's father is now charged with planning the murder of the son who had the most faith in him. She's naming names, Raven. Malcolm died pleading for someone to listen, so she's finished hiding the skeletons and fake smiles. His voicemails were left behind. He left cautions behind. He also left a haunting message: don't let her speak at my funeral if something were to happen to me. The woman who allegedly buried the truth with the network lawyers while grinning at cameras and giving Malcolm's mother tissues on national television is the one Raven believes helped cover it all up. This goes much higher because it's not just about Cosby. Two former NBC executives have now been connected by Raven's investigation to Cosby's shell companies. Less than a week after Malcolm's passing, one of them allegedly received consulting fees through an offshore account. Do you recall that laptop that went missing? Speaking with voice distortion, a former storage contractor from New York has come forward using a false identity, and his words are horrifying. I received $30,000, 0 cents in cash with no documentation to move 2 devices and a metal briefcase from a storage facility owned by Pudding LLC. I was aware of its owner. New Yorkers were all aware that it was Cosby's ghost business. He claims to have seen a laptop with the initials MJW etched on the bottom inside that briefcase. Malcolm-Jamal Warner's laptop has been lost, buried, and hidden. Raven had backups, though, so the secrets within survived. Malcolm had sent her voicemails through email, she had backstage clips, she had messages, and only 48 hours before Malcolm drowned, one of them was captured on camera. She performed it. Her voice sounded exhausted, frightened, and broken in the last moments of her live stream. They're observing me. I sense it. I'm not going to back down, though. The files are with me. I have copies. I'm leaving if you're listening. And it wasn't a coincidence if I'm gone. First silence, then static. Since Raven gave those files to her legal team, a federal investigator and an independent journalist who is currently working on a multi-part expose called Murder in Prime Time, that was the last time anyone has heard from Malcolm. The entire world is observing. Hollywood is in disarray. According to Cosby's sources, his team is in a panic. It has been flipped by several insiders that a secret grand jury investigation is in progress, and abuse isn't the only issue. It has to do with corporate conspiracy, money laundering, obstruction, and murder. This is where things get worse, though. 2 other cast members had previously privately expressed fear that they would all collapse if Malcolm spoke, according to a former Cosby screenwriter. There's one that's dark. Last week, the other, accompanied by 2 lawyers, was spotted wearing sunglasses as he entered a federal building in Los Angeles. The whispers have turned into roars, though they haven't yet spoken in public. The set's old footage is being reanalyzed. Fan forums are pointing out odd looks, unexpected scenes, and cuts that never made sense. Additionally, it tells a story when matched with Raven's timeline, a tale of control, manipulation, and terror. Then Malcolm's mother delivered the most devastating blow of all. She remained silent for years, grieving in private, declining interviews, and avoiding rumors. However, she issued a statement today. Her quiet yet piercing voice reverberated like thunder throughout the press room. It was not an accident that killed my son. They silenced him, and I'll make sure that everyone knows who stole him from me for the rest of my life. She displayed a picture. Malcolm is grinning while holding his red-swept daughter. Raven claimed that in a dream she had, he was wearing the same sweater the night he passed away. I caught a glimpse of him. During the live stream, Raven whispered, "It was that Brooklyn sweater in that house." He gave me a look and said only one thing: remember me. Don't let them try to erase me. Now that the facts are too obvious, the evidence too damning, and the silence too suspicious, neither she nor we are forgetting. Hours after Malcolm's passing, who had access to his digital files? Why was that journal deleted and a blank folder called Shut It created in its place? Why is the demand for decades-old documents by Raven's legal team causing NBC to panic? Because this isn't the end, darling. The storm is just getting started. Symoné just lit the fuse for a storm. Do you think Raven is real now? Do you believe that Malcolm's passing was merely an accident? Or do you think it was just another tragedy, a silent execution cloaked in a false smile, hidden under studio lights? For this is more than just a video, it's a movement, and there's no going back now that the mask is off. Please share your thoughts in the comments section. Make your voice known. If you still think The Cosby Show is harmless entertainment, share this with them. Show them what the laughter was concealing. Because the silence ends here this time, we have more digging to do. Breathe, give it time to sink in. You already know this wasn't just a tragedy if you've read this far. It was a prelude, a message wrapped in death, a silencing. Malcolm-Jamal Warner's death was not an accident. They took him, stolen from his family, extracted from reality, stolen from a future he was prepared to defend. Raven Symoné has now taken the one unexpected action. She would not remain silent. How many people were silenced before her, you ask? But if we remain silent, how many more will fall? There is no conspiracy here. This is an appeal for fairness. Don't scroll away if this story touched you, if hearing Malcolm's last words made your heart ache the way ours did, and if you think that accountability and truth are important in exposing evils that are hiding in plain sight. Leave a comment below, participate in this movement by raising your voice, distribute this video, allow the silence to erupt. Feel as though this has completely upended your preconceived notions about Hollywood. If you're prepared to hear more truth they don't want you to hear, subscribe, for this is not just a video. It's a battle for Malcolm, a battle for each victim who is instructed to remain silent, smile, and live. We've finished surviving now, we're revealing. They made an effort to conceal the truth. However, they were unaware that we were the storm.